yeah, I mean,
Sorry, guys.
Oh, was it not?
No, I
Oh,
completely
all right.
forgot. I apologize.
Oh, that could have been, oh, man, that's all right, well, just to give a little yeah, no, we'll just pick up with this conversation, all right, so. I don't think it can hurt to like compare and contrast what was like previously found, but I think this one we can still work off of,
Okay.
right? I think this
Yeah.
is still fine.
Yeah.
And I agree with Jonathan, right? That like I think the more simplistic it is, like that old motto of like KISS, keep it simple, stupid, right? I think
Yeah.
is probably, and again, especially if this is the first time somebody is joining a board, yeah, it gives a good outline. You don't want to overwhelm people, and especially where this is a volunteer group, you don't want people to say, what the hell did I, what did I just step into? Like,
Yeah.
so,
Right. And I think that, I'm not saying that this is complicated by any means.
No, but it's like, oh my God. That's
It could, yeah, it could.
Maybe if we can make it down to
It
one
needs to be
page.
one page.
yeah, I think
Right?
it could, right?
Like a resume, just make it.
And
Yeah.
probably
Okay.
even like 3/4.
I have one
Yeah.
suggestion, but it might be something when you really do it. New members who aren't familiar with the basics of UMA should have to go through like a small training.
Yeah, so that's like board development covers all of that. Like would be step one. And then
Yeah.
after they're onboarded, we would hopefully have an orientation where we could get them up, if they have, up to speed on what does a board do, what are our priorities for this year, what's the strategic plan, all that
Mhm.
stuff, so that it's all covered. And then it would continue on through the rest of like the arc of it of, making sure we have a succession plan for when officers leave, and trainings for during the year. So that's all falls under this board development thing. So, but yeah, putting it in here, I think it is in here about orientations.
So we're gonna have some people that are very familiar with UMA and don't need any training.
Right.
Yeah.
So for the ones that do need it,
Yes.
Or
It
maybe
should always
even-
be offered regardless. Yeah.
And maybe even to that point too, maybe putting a little refresher of like a Robert's rules, right? Because this could be it's one thing to watch the city council and the school committee and other organizations use Robert rules. And then it's a whole different thing once you're like in it, right? So maybe something like that too as well. So,
Mhm.
but all right, so I think we're in agreement, right? I think the outreach, or maybe we don't even have to keep it as outreach. I think we can maybe change the first section where it is outreach to 1 and 2, maybe change that to I don't even know what you would call it. What's a better word for outreach? Or what this would probably better be called, I think, like an expectation.
Yeah, I
or
was
like
gonna
an
say, I
introduction
don't want
or
to say it's a
something.
mission statement. It's not a mission statement,
It's not a
obviously,
mission
but it's
statement.
like
Our expectation or
Yeah.
board expectation. I mean,
it's not outreach, that's for certain. Yeah.
And we can, and again, we can continue to like mess around
Minimum
with that.
requirement.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. Board expectation, yeah, which is, I mean,
No.
all right, so yeah, I can play around with that. So, all right, so we'll keep the first two as is, right? So I'm just making a note to myself. Okay, so then when we go down to board and committee participation, which I feel like I think we can just call that board participation, right? It doesn't have to be board and committee. I mean, I feel like it, the subcommittees fall under, obviously they are, if we were looking at it as like an inverted pyramid, obviously the board is up here and then everything else would, the subcommittees would fall underneath that, right?
Maybe this
So-
would be where you had talked about the minimum number of subcommittee meetings a
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
That's like we could put
yeah.
that here, like you agree to
Yeah, correct.
the minimum number.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we'll
I just
call
wanted
that,
to throw in, if I could, and sorry if this is obvious, but like I think it's really important to operationalize as much as we can. Like I know it's tough to pick a number on the percentage of board meetings that one will attend, but I think it's really important that we should and hold people to those.
yeah, I agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
I agree.
I was thinking, my number, and I am by no means a mathematician and any of that. So my numbers may sound kind of weird, but I was thinking like 75%, right? So when you think about that, that's out of the year. And of course, as long as I'm still the president and I
Two
try
meetings, right? Like if you took
July, so let's say July, I remember I canceled July's meeting just because it was in the middle of the summer, right? So let's say if we cancel the July and December, so you're left with 10
10
meetings
meetings,
out of the
right.
year. I mean, I don't think that's
so you have to
unreasonable.
attend at least 7.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did 2 of 12, so if there was
Yeah,
one every
yeah.
month, like missing 2 would be reasonable.
and you know what,
And
and that could change too. Again, it just depends on who the president of the board is, right? There might be some people that say, nope, we're meeting all year round, and There could be some people that
I
say
mean, I
no.
would write in
But I
the
think-
expectation you attend 75 to 80% of the meetings, and if not, no matter what, there's 100% requirement, like you communicate,
Right,
right? Like,
yeah,
even if you're
yeah,
not gonna be.
yeah. I mean, and you know what, life happens, as
Right,
I've always
yeah.
been told, right? We all know that
Right.
circumstances happen, you can't make it. Your dog Fido ate the, ate the Tide Pod that you left
I
out
mean-
by mistake, and you gotta take him to the mall and animal. I mean, I get it,
very
right?
specific.
Right, or like
These things
Adam-
happen.
If Adam is sick, but if he had the stomach flu or whatever, like you can't be online. You cannot
Right,
attend
Yeah.
right,
that.
right, right,
I
exactly,
just
exactly.
can't see it's so-
Right, so, yeah, so
no.
so we'll, all right, so I think, so. For number 3, are we in agreement that we should say 70, you said 75 to 80? I'd say 75, right? Just keep it at 75.
Say all.
All,
I
you
Yeah, I
still,
would
I
say
still
all.
say
I
all.
wanna say all?
Do you
I
agree
say
with that,
plan to
Adam? Was
attend
that what
all
you're,
meetings and communicate if you can.
or were you saying it needs to be a specific like percentage?
I mean,
like-
I think that we could say that you know, every board member should make an attempt to be at all board meetings, but will attend at least 75%. Like, obviously, we're
Okay.
not gonna
Yeah.
take
okay,
someone
I
out
like
if
that.
Fido needs to go to the hospital.
Yeah,
right,
but-
right.
No,
Yeah.
I guess my point was you're expected to, but if something happens, of course, just inform the board, or if there's an emergency, we'll understand.
Yeah,
And like, I mean, in all seriousness, if someone just like ghosts and doesn't show up without any communication, there should be consequences to that.
I mean, we
Yes.
also, we
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
had, we had, yeah, we did
We
have
had
that, we had that issue happen not too long.
Yeah,
ago.
that's
In which
that's
at
no
that
good.
point, we took the necessary, I mean,
Adam,
after so many attempts.
But
what I
that's a
wrote
bylaw
down
thing
is
too.
Yeah.
plan to,
I'll turn it around so you.
I have in my notes, plan to attend all meetings and communicate if you can't. Will attend at least 75%.
Sounds good to me.
That sounds,
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's great. And I'll be in that, all right, so then I should say, before we move on to item number 4 on this, I mean, is everybody fine? I actually like that, you know, the all or at least 75%.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So then I'll go down to, you know, line number 4, right? So I'll be an active member of at least one committee or task force.
Yeah, we don't need task
Yeah,
force.
Yeah, we'll strike
I
the
love
task
that,
force.
though.
I do like that, yeah. We get cool,
Can I
like,
head the task force?
I was gonna say, we get cool like Uma jackets and we get to go like break people's front doors and come up with some like phony warrant like they did on training day. It was like a pizza menu. You know, all joking aside, right? So I think that's fine. Obviously, we'll strike task force. And will, if asked, be willing to take a leadership role. I think that, yeah,
I think
again,
Anne will be willing to take a.
yes, I agree, right? I think maybe not in the first time, especially again, going back to if this is people's first times being on a board, being in a chairperson's role may not necessarily be, it could be overwhelming, right? Because you're still trying to learn
You
what's
could be a
going on.
co-chair, right? So you can.
You could if you wanted to, right? I wonder if throwing somebody into a co-chair role might be overwhelming for some people, unless they're willing, right? Unless
Fair,
they're like,
that's fair.
and I think it's circumstantial too, right? Like myself, I've been involved with many different boards, whether it be in the chairman role, a vice chair role, or just an active member. So for me to take on a leadership role, yeah, I know they look different, but this isn't like my first rodeo. But I think maybe we can put some language that could be like saying something like that circumstantial that, you know, if this is your first time, you'll be on, you know, you will be, you know, an active member on a subcommittee. And then maybe after a year, 6 months to a year, and I feel like maybe a year might be better because the first 6 months you're still learning. And then the next 6 months, you kind of start to find your voice. So maybe a year might be more appropriate. And then within a year, if you're still an active member, you're still on the UMA board, then it will be,
You transition to leadership. role?
yeah, it will be asked of you to transition into a leadership role at that point.
Okay.
I mean, does everybody think that's, I mean, I don't want,
Yeah, I agree. Like
Yeah.
a year gives you at least a full year of
Mhm.
like how, you know, our meetings, and so you have an annual meeting, you've at least been to one, you know.
right. You know, unless like there's some unfortunate circumstance where like everybody who would have had seniority over you all of a sudden resigns or
Right.
terms out, right? But
We
I
don't
think,
wanna do that.
no, but I think that we're pretty good about making sure that the terms are all more or less staggered so that we don't run into that, right? So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think that's what it should be, right? So it's like, I will be an active member. You know, of at least one committee. Yeah, I guess, right? I mean, I will be an active member on a committee. I don't even want to use at least one committee, on a committee, strike out the task force. And then I guess I would say, and then after a year of after a year of serving, will then be asked to take a leadership role.
Okay.
Are you, somebody?
Yeah, I'm writing my scratches.
Because I'll say it now and then I'll go back
I
to typing
know.
about, what the hell did I say?
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm the most eloquent speaker either, so.
I'm
but-
trying to write it down in the
All
notes too.
right. Thanks. Any other feedback? Anybody else?
No, it works.
Everybody's good with that? Okay. And then we'll move on to number 5. I will also be willing to accept individual initiatives to share my professional expertise.
I don't think it needs to be said.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
Like, if we're
agree.
trying to make this shorter, I would.
I agree. And to be quite frankly honest with
I
you.
mean, it's expected, like, you don't
Yeah.
have to
Yes.
say that.
And you know what, in some professions, don't want you to serve, so like for me, where this kind of like comes in, like as an attorney, sometimes you cannot serve dual roles, right? So like, that's a whole conflict of interest. It's either you are hired to be the board's attorney, or you're serving, you have a legal background, but you are serving, but you can't do both, right? So like, and I feel like that could get messy too, and especially I feel like that, like, some people may defer to people who like have, and I'm just using the legal background because I'm just talking about mine, obviously, that some people may look to like people with the legal background and be like, oh, well, what do you think? And it's like,
Right.
oh, yeah, like,
Well, we could, I mean, if we
We should
wanted
sue
to
them,
keep
you
it, we
know?
could say, after, to share my professional expertise, comma, except for where conflicts of interest arise.
I don't even know, to be honest with you.
Just
I-
wanna
But
take
we
it out?
need to make it shorter.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
just my,
I-
I mean,
I
if you
feel-
wanna add it into like, all, I will interpret
I think it's
organizations work
a
and
given.
include
yeah,
my,
I don't think it
you
needs.
know,
yeah.
professional expertise where possible. I mean,
I
you would
think we
add
should
it into the
strike it.
first sentence,
No.
but I would strike
Okay.
it.
I think I agree. I'm in
Alright,
agreement. I think
so-
we should just strike that out all, because again, why else? You would come up with it, right? Like in certain situations, you might be like, oh, hey, blah, 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 or whatever. I faced this situation before once, and it's like, so I feel like again, going back to the whole thing about being an active member in general,
Right.
yeah, I think that, that kind of goes without saying. So
And I've never seen a person not talk about what they do.
yeah. it's
I
right.
agree.
There's a lot of people.
And then,
There's a
but
lot
also this
of-
ties back into the recruitment where we should be recruiting based on what we need for the board.
Mhm.
Like
Yes,
we had already
yes,
talked about HR
correct,
and the
yeah.
legal.
Correct,
whatever, I don't know.
Correct.
But then that needs
But-
to be written different, like.
No,
it's
I'm saying like
Yeah.
taking it out is
Right.
fine because it's part of the recruitment
Right.
thing.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, so I think number 5 can be stricken or struck, however you say it.
Mhm.
Any other further? Adam, do you have anything to, do you want to try anything? to
No, I
add to
mean, that makes sense to me, but
Yeah.
that striking it.
Yeah, all right. All right, let's move on to number 6, resource development.
Mhm.
I will help make, again, I think that this is kind of, yeah, I mean, I'll read it. I will help support the resource development of the organization, specifically make an annual personally meaningful contribution to the best of my ability of no less than
Well-
$5,000.
Well, we already said, you have to be a member.
Right.
Yeah,
Right?
membership, I think is a.
Membership is there, and
Yeah.
Right,
I
and
don't
that's
know,
$5 a month, right? I mean, we should
Yeah.
probably spell what it is out, so.
Yeah.
people
Oh, yeah,
signing
we
up
can-
to know,
mhm.
right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
$50
that.
a year, so at a minimum, we would ask for a donation of $50.
$50. And then I think we can put in parentheses, the monthly cost of your membership.
Yeah,
Right.
fine.
And I will consider the organization one of my top 2 or 3 charitable commitments.
that's too,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I feel
I
like,
think that's where I
Yeah.
felt like, if you
That's
were,
weird.
yeah,
that's weird.
yeah,
I mean,
I don't
it-
know, like, there's a passion towards my children, I'll just
Yeah,
use that one.
yeah,
So do I give to like organizations that do take on my children that are
Right.
nonprofits? I do,
right.
right?
right.
And maybe that's right or wrong, I serve on a board here, I
Right.
get that maybe I should be more passionate about it, but I'm not, like, I
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, I think it's
yeah.
okay to take that
So-
out. And also, I mean, this is possibly a sample for a much larger boards
Yes.
and much
Yeah.
larger
Right.
organizations
Right.
where they do have several people on
I
their
mean, if
boards
you
who
wanted
are.
to say it needed to be a minimum of $100, then you can talk about exception, that's fine,
Right.
like, you're not gonna, but that's still not.
And I think that there's always gonna be an exception to that
Right.
rule, right? I mean.
Yeah.
So if anybody can, or.
Oh,
And your
absolutely,
time,
yeah.
right? I mean, let's be real too.
Right.
Your time is equally as valuable, right? It's, I
Right.
mean, for somebody to give up a Thursday night or again, whenever the nights are for once a month for a couple hours, I mean, I think that's also valuable and, in the contribution to the organization, right? So I mean, that right there is worth more than whatever we could put down as a numerical figure, right? So,
Okay.
but yeah, I would say strike
Strike
that.
that?
Yeah, I will consider the organization. I mean,
Yeah.
if not, then why are you here?
Yeah.
and when Eden or myself or John or whomever, Aaliyah reach out to be like, hey, you want to be a part of this? And it's like, hell no, I don't. Like, well, absolutely. It's like perfect. You know, so I mean, yeah. All right. Going into subsection 6, reach into diverse communities and help identify and cultivate relationships to support the organization as donors, board members.
I don't think that's necessary.
I don't think
Yeah.
so. I think
That's
it's
expected too,
it's
right?
wordy, yeah.
I mean, that's.
And I think it's kind of wordy, right?
does it
Yeah,
need to
I
be
think
said?
actively participate in
lines.
fundraising activities covers that.
Yeah.
to be
Yeah,
honest.
that's it, yeah, and so I think we can strike out that, I guess I'll call that 6B, the reach into diverse communities. I mean, we're doing that already, we all come from a
Is
diverse
it, I'm
community.
raising it. Is it okay if I ask Aaliyah's opinion since she's our civic engagement person at UMA? Is this line here under resource development?
On-
We're talking about striking that.
Only if the chair recognizes her
Yes,
to
damn
talk.
it.
Let's just finish up with this, and
Okay,
then,
that's
we can. After everybody's had a
That's fine.
chance to talk, then we can talk to any off-committee members.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think we're doing that already, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
all come from a pretty unique, all
Mhm.
diverse backgrounds, all of us, right? I mean, and diverse, right? I mean, look, I'll let you project what diversity means to you,
Yeah.
right? No,
My
I mean,
last name is Smith. I'm really not.
no,
No,
but
I mean, like,
no, but you know what I
diverse,
mean, like, it's
right.
diverse, right? Like you
Right.
everybody talks to a different constituency from
Sure.
everybody else, in here,
Right,
right?
it
So I
could be
can,
How
different,
about-
creative,
how- How about actively participate in fundraising activities and help cultivate relationships to
within that.
support the organization?
Yeah.
yeah,
Just combine
that's good.
A little.
That's fine,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep.
Is there any other,
Help cultivate relationships to,
Support the
support.
organization.
You know, we're going 2 lines now.
no, that's still
Still
one
the same.
sentence, yeah, that's still one sentence, you're just taking a few.
yeah, but it's 2 sentences.
Yeah,
2
that's
lines
what
on
I'm
here.
thinking.
No,
Like,
I'm not looking, I'm not, so, all right. Okay, any other further any other,
I mean, we could just leave it actively participate in fundraising activities and help cultivate relationships. We don't need to add to the organization, do we? Just because it's an incomplete sentence, I mean,
And
actively participate in fundraising activities isn't exactly,
yeah, I will, right?
and help cultivate
Oh, yeah.
relationships, period,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, keep it on one line.
I'm just trying to think what, if we're trying to keep this document to 1 page, like,
Hmm.
brief.
Yeah. Okay. Adam, I don't know if you,
Yeah, I mean, just like this 6B sentence is so incredibly vague, it's like meaningless. Like what does reach into diverse communities mean? And that could mean so many different things that whatever wording we decide on that's simplifying the first piece, like 6A and 6C, to make it one concise sentence works for me for sure.
agreed. Anybody else on the committee before we move on? All right, I will recognize Leah off committee if you have anything that you would like to chime in.
Exactly.
No, I think the way you guys put it into more concise words makes sense. I like that you combine both of them together. And I also agree that you don't really need to support the organization because that is a given.
Right.
So I
Show up, just-
Yeah, just be here. I see Katie Bowridge. I also want to give her, if we're recognizing people off committee, I don't know if Katie can hear me or if she has the ability to take herself off mute, but. I don't know
Oh,
if
I
Kate-
do. I can hear you.
Okay. Who can't? Is there anything that you would like to chime in on this part or,
Oh, no. I mean, I think it's kind of a given that it's, you building relationships within the community.
yeah, agreed. All right. So now we're gonna move on to board policies. Unless anybody else has any last minute thoughts on,
Sorry, I do.
Go
have a
ahead.
last
Yeah,
minute
yeah, go
thought.
ahead.
I'm sorry, and actively participate in fundraising activities, can we say actively host and participate, or like, because we need to be generating more of our own, like, we can't just count on what staff is putting out as fundraising activities, we have to be generating our own, and I want people to understand that that's part of the commitment to the board.
the only pushback I will give is when I was a state employee, I was not allowed to do fundraising. So that's the only pushback I will have.
That's a fair one. Okay,
Because- because we were
let's
not
leave
allowed-
it then.
We were not, any state, I would say any state and municipal, I don't know federal, because I've never served in a federal role yet.
Mhm.
Yeah. However, though, I know that when I was on the school committee and when I was, when I was working for the state lottery and I was running for the school committee seat, I could not host, technically, I was not allowed to be a treasurer at any fundraising events, right? I was not allowed to do anything.
Oh, that's good to know then. All right, then forget it. Just strike
So,
that.
yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
Just in case, right? So I
Mhm.
mean, there
And
could-
again, that could fall under the recruitment thing where we're, we say that's something we want to work on. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be in there.
Right. So that's my only pushback is that you have to just be careful of that.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, Massachusetts is really strict about that.
yeah, very, very. I don't know why. Actually, I have a feeling I know why. but That's not for this meeting at all. All right. We will, actually, I know
Being
stories.
recorded.
I actually do know stories, believe it, but they're not to be shared out in public. All right, any other last, before we move on?
I'm moving on.
Okay,
Move on.
All right, all right. I like your way. I like your thought, Eden.
I think we need to get rid of 9, but I move forward.
Okay, so we'll move on to we'll move on to board policies, number 7. I will excuse myself. I think this goes without
I
saying,
think
but
so too.
I will read it into the record, obviously. I will excuse myself from discussions and votes where I have a conflict of interest. Let me tell you, folks, just don't do it. If you have a conflict of interest or any appearance of a conflict of interest, sometimes could be worse. I think talk it over. And honestly, I think use your best discretion.
Yeah, and we
Right.
have to sign a conflict of interest thing
And we also,
anyway.
Right,
yes,
yeah.
that is
Okay.
correct. So, I mean, I feel like that goes
Double
without
duty
saying.
there, so.
Yeah. Let me
So
tell you,
strike it or keep it?
keep that. You
Okay.
kidding me? I think
Yeah, no,
I
I was
think
gonna
that's
say, are you
no,
talking
no,
about
I
getting rid
think
of
no.
it?
that's one of those, I hate to say it, but it's
Like you
like,
signed it twice.
yeah, I know. I
Okay.
mean, it just is one of those that I'm like, I can't believe we have to say it, but my line of thinking always is you just got to put it out there.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know what I mean? Like,
And I
Agreed.
think 8 is the same. That's why I said 9, but I thought 8 was fair too. Like you're gonna maintain confidentiality of board deliberation.
again, that's another one that I
Is
mean,
that a given?
yeah, it should be,
Okay.
right? But again, I think this is another one that you got to put out there and just tell people,
Well,
hey,
this
look,
ties into what you were saying, because it says including those with which I
Right,
might have been
right.
in disagreement.
Right.
I think
So-
that should stay.
yeah, oh, I agree.
it
Oh, I
should
don't
be
think that should be
9
restricted.
That I would get rid of.
Oh,
I will
9,
support
yeah.
with possible recommendations of the committees. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you need.
I don't even know
to
what the
say
hell that means, but you
No,
better,
yeah.
you
it.
better
I think if
support
it
the
comes out of
recommendation.
committee, even if you don't agree with it,
Yeah,
you're supportive
yeah,
of it,
yeah.
and that's fine.
And you know what? And you're allowed, when it comes for discussion, right? Like, you're allowed, I mean, when it's open floor, I mean, I would think that everybody, again, on this board or any board has thick enough skin if somebody's gonna have and it has to be respectful, right?
Right,
Obviously, like,
right.
we're not gonna get into a shouting match and we're not gonna get into a name calling. But I would think that everybody would have thick enough skin to realize, hey, all right, fine, there is disagreement of whatever, like, but
Mhm.
yeah, I mean,
Strike 9.
yeah.
Yeah.
all
You
right.
gotta make it shorter.
I already struck it, so.
Okay, 10.
Perfect.
I
And I
agree.
think it's already said in 7 and 8 anyways.
Yeah.
Actually, it's particularly in 8, at the end of 8.
Yeah.
Number 10, I will encourage, enable, and respect the participation. I think that can be stricken. I think that's kind of a given,
I think it goes along with 9.
right? I mean, I
Just being
feel, I
respectful.
feel like that's pretty
And
much,
I don't think we're gonna put anyone on
it-
the board who it
Yeah.
doesn't come across.
And if we do have any issues, it obviously could be added in next year.
yeah,
back in,
yeah,
so.
yeah,
8 covers 9 and 10.
yeah, pretty
Yes.
much,
Yes.
pretty
yeah.
much. I will respect and support the executive director's authority, communicate ideas about program or administrative activities to the executive director rather to the staff, to the line staff, refrain from making special requests of the staff and avoid discussion of personnel matters with staff. I don't know if you got, I mean, this is another one, again, that I feel like you should just kind of know,
It's common sense.
this is
yeah.
common sense. I'm not gonna pick up the phone and call Aaliyah and be like, hey, guess what, we just talked about you, like,
Yeah.
but you never,
it's-
but you know what though, I hate to say
It's
it.
so common sense
Yeah.
that you need to leave. it
I
in
hate to
type
say,
thing,
but
can
maybe we
shorten
can
it?
tighten the language a little bit, but I
Yeah.
hate to say it,
Yes.
but like,
I will-
there have been times in previous lives of mine that I've like lived.
So I mean, we can, I agree with respect to support executive director's authority. I'm not sure, I think we need to communicate ideas. I think people, like I said, talk too much anyways. So
Yeah, I think
I
if you
think
strike
get
out from,
rid of communicate ideas about program or
Yeah.
administration activities to the, yeah.
yeah. And then I think
I
the
don't know how
refrain
to-
from making special requests to the staff, I would say, I would respect and support the executive director's authority, strike out communicate ideas about program and then I think that there should be something about, and you basically don't overstep your boundaries with the executive director, right? Like,
Right,
yeah, you should not be talking to the staff, you should not be talking to the staff about
Yeah, and
personnel
so
matters.
I would almost say, I
Yeah.
will respect and support the executive director's authority, period, right? And then take out communicate ideas about program of administration activities. I would put something like before executive director, I will report I will communicate to the executive director rather than to line staff. And refrain from making special, I don't know, there's a way to make that shorter.
Yeah, there's a way to tighten that.
So,
I mean, I don't know, does anybody on the committee have, because if not, I'll Adam, do you have anything? I know it's kind of hard virtually that like, you don't want to like be that person screaming on the computer, but
Yeah, I mean, like one thing that I'll say is like I think that yes, 8 and 11 are common sense, but they're not common sense enough to be like stricken. Those should be left in. I agree that 8 covers 9 and 10, but like for 8, I could see where someone could think that it's okay to express their disagreement with the decision that's made, and it's not. So like it's important to keep that in. In terms of editing 11 down, that's not something I'm going to be able to be proficient on the fly. So
yeah.
I could think about that outside the meeting, but I can't tone it down now.
Yeah, maybe 11 we keep in, right?
Why-
Again,
Why
sorry,
couldn't we just say I will respect and support the executive director's authority?
period.
Yeah, and I will communicate
communicate
it to the executive director rather than to the line staff.
Yeah, actually, that's,
Communicate
yeah,
That
whatever.
sounds great.
yeah, actually, I
Yeah.
like that.
on all matters.
On all matters.
Communicate
Why
all
would it matter? You know,
matters
you don't
to-
have to
yeah.
be
Yeah.
specific about each matter, right? It
That's
doesn't
true.
matter, special requests or avoid, yeah.
With line staff, the right wording.
I don't
No,
know,
no,
I
the
think of
staff.
cooking.
I-
Yeah,
yeah.
not-
Yeah,
not-
yeah, you're right.
It is, yeah, right. Yeah.
Just staff.
Just the
Uma
staff, yeah.
We could say
Communicate
UMA
to
staff, right?
Executive director, but not the staff. Am I
No,
wording it wrong?
no,
I will
no, it was how Jonathan, I would respect and support the executive director's authority and then.
Period, and then I will communicate
All
all
matters.
matters with the executive director rather than the UMA staff.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Just like we're doing right now.
yeah,
Don't talk to her.
yeah. So we put a wall over around it, yeah. And then all right, so, what I should be doing when I haven't, but I think the next two, but I will ask, I'll recognize off committee. Aaliyah, do you have anything that you want to add to that? No?
I do not.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Bowers, sorry. Ms. Bowers, you have anything? Nope, okay.
And we're striking.
Sorry, the microphone button itself doesn't work. I have to go to another screen to unmute.
Oh.
No, the only thing is, so are you talking personnel matters or just in general?
I think in general, right?
Okay.
I think in general, and yeah,
It's definitely overstepping.
Yeah.
You go direct
Right,
to
because
that.
I don't know, that's why I was trying to figure out if you were trying to differentiate between personnel matters but is it like program? So I guess that's the question. Is it programming? Is it personnel matters? What is it that you're trying to avoid? Because if someone's having a conversation and listening to what someone else has to say in their opinions is kind of a little bit different than saying, oh, well, I don't agree with so-and-so on this. And
well, I think we were more thinking of, we were fine, right? Like, I think that all matters should go right to, like, we should be communicating, instead of going right to the staff themselves. I think that, this is the reason why we hired an executive director, is I think that on all matters, whether it be personnel, programming, or whatever, should go right to the executive director themselves. Like, we can express our opinions about it, right?
Yeah.
If I'm understanding this, if I'm understanding
But that's
everybody
what our board
correctly.
meetings are for.
Yeah, that's what, and then, but like to have, I guess, like, the better way to describe it would be like direct dealing with the staff from the board. I think should be kind of, especially when it comes to day-to-day UMA stuff, whatever they want to do outside of it, if they want to, I don't know, have a beer or something like that with each other, you can't prevent that. But I think any type of direct dealing with day-to-day UMA business, I think should be more for the board to report, the board to talk to the executive director as opposed to the board member picking up the phone and directly calling somebody on the UMA staff. I hope it makes sense how I'm explaining it.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, but does it go both ways? Because are you then shutting off communication where staff are not gonna feel comfortable speaking to someone on the board about an issue that they have that they're not
They shouldn't be.
comfortable going to the
Yeah.
director with?
I
Which
don't think they
kind
should.
of like the position of, like, that's kind of what the board is there for.
No, unfortunately.
I don't think that, I don't think there should, I think there should be a line there. I think that's
Yeah.
where it starts. I think that's where the ED is like the liaison at that
Yeah,
point,
at
right?
that point, yeah.
Unless like the ED was doing something so unethical that I think that's circumstantial, right?
Mhm.
Like, right? I mean,
Right.
I think that the ED is the liaison between the board and the staff and vice versa, and the staff and the board. Or that's how it's always been when I've been, when I've been with other committees, like on the school committee, let's say, for instance, right? Like I remember my time, like if there was an issue, I wouldn't call the house principal, I wouldn't call any of the school principals, I would call the superintendent. And then
Right.
the superintendent would be the one that was our our liaison between staff and the school committee.
And that would be, no matter what, on the staff side of things, like, I mean, hopefully there's communication with the staff, like if they have any issues to go to Tina, and if not, like how they raise it higher up, right?
Right.
Right.
But
Right.
that's not on this, that's
Yeah.
not for us.
No,
We're
no,
just
we're
going to
not.
Tina.
Yeah,
so-
yeah, exactly. And I think that's how it should be, right? I mean,
Right.
again, this is why you hire an executive director, is that's supposed to be the stopgap for all of us, I
Yeah.
think. Well, like I said, that's how it's always been for me in previous lives I've had.
Right. Yeah.
Because believe me, there were many times I'd like to go and report an executive director. And I was not allowed to do that.
Well,
Are
they
we-
don't have HR personnel, but that's like almost like another.
She
Yeah.
covers that.
It's
Right,
like-
that's under her
almost,
purview.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a different discussion for another time. Like,
Yeah.
maybe there should be an HR person for staff to go to if they didn't feel comfortable,
Right.
but that's not on the board member.
And I know HR, we've been looking for we're going to be looking for a possible board member that has HR experience.
Right.
And we have that discussion then when and if we get a person
Right,
like that.
cause I
you
figure
know?
like where I work, like, yes, you would go to HR, or like if
Yeah.
it's a legal
Yeah.
activity, like there's
Right.
no budsman where you can report stuff like
Right.
anonymously. and-
Yeah,
So.
that's kind of hard with the staff.
Unfortunately, I do have the HR background, but mine's not like, mine was more like labor and employee relation matters. That's what mine was,
Yeah,
which,
So I've actually moved on, but. if
yeah,
you
I'm so
want-
sorry. I just
Yeah.
want to know on the last one, are
Yeah.
we striking refrain from making special requests to the staff and avoid discussion on personnel
Yeah,
matters
yeah,
with staff?
Yeah,
Because it's covered underneath all that.
yeah,
other
it
stuff.
is
Okay.
all matters, period, right?
yeah, all matters.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on to the next item, active participation.
So I actually think active participation is a good word, and it was almost what I think the outreach from.
Should be called.
Should be called,
Hmm.
so making that one. So I would rename outreach at the top, active participation,
Actually, I like that.
Okay.
and then. I'm not huge on 12 and 13, but if you want to add 14 onto that front page of active participation, I'm just trying to like shut
Yeah,
it down.
yeah,
Cause at 12 is I will stay informed about what's going on, really, I mean, like, come on, like, that's basic.
Yeah.
Going on in the organization, developments and field relevant to the organization. I will ask questions and request information, I mean, we all talk, I
Yeah.
don't. 13 is I will participate in and take responsibility for making decisions on an issue, policies and other matters, I mean, I think that goes without
Yeah.
saying, I will not
Yeah.
stay silent, like, no. like,
You,
no.
No, that's
no,
station.
no, yeah, that, I think we
Yeah.
just
Will
make
not
that,
stay
no,
silent.
that's the evil rule, yeah.
Yeah. And then 14, I will participate in the assessment of my fulfillment. Like, I have no problem with this because you're at least recognizing you have a self-assessment due on
Yes.
yourself. And if
And-
you want to keep that, I'm okay with that, but that I would put it in the
Number one.
in active participation and
Okay.
kind of.
Yeah,
leave
I-
it
In the
there.
first one.
Yeah,
All right,
I
so
like that.
scratch
I'm
that
in
whole thing, but
agreement.
move 14 to the top.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm in
Okay.
agreement, yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
Okay, do you want it as 1, 2, or 3?
I guess it would be as 3.
Yeah, that would
Okay.
be, that would be
Keep it
three,
easy.
yeah, that would be
Alright.
three. Yeah.
Yeah, I
agree.
mean, and also just so you guys know, in regards to assessment, some boards do actually have like the executive, I mean, the chair assess each board member, like, this is what you've done this year, you know, you have like
Right.
almost like a
But if
yearly
you're not
review.
showing up to meetings, I think it's relevant to that,
Yes.
or I guess it might be board committee participation,
Right.
I'm not sure, but.
I mean, there's some
But yeah, I just
overlap.
wanted to
Yeah.
let you guys know that that's
Right.
another aspect
Yeah.
of board development.
Like,
No, I
that's
like that.
fine,
I like that.
yeah, I haven't gone on to the
All
last
right.
part.
Any-
Perfect.
Any, see if Adam has to chime in.
Yes, you gotta talk.
All sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm sure it does, yeah. He's like, I just wanna stay.
You staying silent.
Yeah.
It's gonna go
Uh,
in your assessment, Adam.
Unfortunately, this one I will not ask for any off committee, because I think that's kind of like an
Yeah.
internal board, right? I think that's more appropriate for the board members.
Yes.
No disrespect to anybody, off committee, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, the next section, the organization responsible to the board members for, and then intern. All right, I just scanning through the first one, I think that can be, I almost think that this whole thing could be stricken almost, but we do this as part of our regular meeting, right? So I'll be sent regular financial reports and an update of organizational activities that allow me to meet the prudent person standard review, whatever that. First off, we're not talking
Yeah.
legalese. I think number one can be stricken from that section. That's why we have an ED
It's
report.
always part of our agenda anyway.
Correct.
Right, so maybe it's just the organization is responsible to board members for executive director reports, monthly reports, financial reports, quarterly or whatever, and whatever else.
I was gonna say, keeping the board reasonably informed of.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Right,
updating us
Yeah.
on
monthly updates.
infrastructure,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know how you wanna word it, but all that stuff.
Okay.
I can just scratch
Right?
it out, now I gotta erase.
No, I'm saying, yeah, actually, no, we were saying strike out, but we just
But
like,
rewording it to a new
correct,
thing.
Just-
okay.
yeah, just very simple, yeah. I mean, opportunities will be offered to me to meet and discuss with you, I mean, come on.
No, I think it's strike two.
You can strike that. And the organization will help me perform my duties by keeping me informed. I
This
mean,
is all.
Yeah, I mean, this is just making somebody feel good about themselves. I would strike that, I mean, that can be stricken.
Yeah.
It's for the line cooks or something.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I wish we had a line cook here.
That's
Board-
our question though.
Board members and staff will respond in a straightforward fashion to questions that I feel, I mean. I don't even think you have to keep that in there. I just think that as the organization will be responsible
I think,
to just keep board members reasonably informed of what goes on.
so, are we striking 2, 3, and 4, or are you?
Yeah,
rewriting
Yeah,
four?
pretty much, yeah. I think not only we'll strike out the second half of one, right? So I'm sorry, we'll reword one as,
I feel like you can just do one and just
Yeah.
put it all in one. and
Yeah.
Be done.
yeah,
I
and just say
agree.
that the, you
Just-
know,
So you're
Simplify.
almost restating what you've agreed to all above.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
so yeah. I think
Yes,
that-
exactly.
I almost think that whole section could be struck from the.
Right.
And just basically say that, look, we'll be kept, the organization will keep the, board members reasonably informed at monthly meetings.
And I have no problem with the signature date, I would just make, that's on the bottom of the page.
I was gonna say that part, I think that should be kept in.
Right.
If for any reason I'm not able to carry out my duties as described, whatever,
I
the signature,
I
I think
agree
that's,
with that,
that
Reasonable.
definitely needs to
Means
be in there,
something.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, that needs to stay.
So do you need to add all board members will sign yearly?
Once.
For their term or?
I-
For the term.
Well, that's a good question, right? So do we want to do it per term? Do we want to do it yearly, right? I mean, if we're gonna amend this or we're gonna look at this at the beginning of each year, do you want, I mean, kind of like I see, it's been a little while since I've been in the workplace that made me sign a handbook, but I can't remember if I had to sign the handbook every time it was updated.
I can only think of the charter school, they make us do it every year.
Yeah.
That's when-
Really?
When my kids used to go to the charter school, yeah, because they change the rules on the handbook every year, so like even if it's just a few things, so. If
Well,
we're
maybe,
planning on changing it every year, we may want to have a sign at the annual meeting maybe, or, I mean, I don't know, January.
That's not crazy to add it to the annual meeting.
Yeah,
So
that's
it
true.
does
That's actually,
work.
yeah, that's a good
After
point.
You know,
Yeah,
it
that's a
fits
good-
well
ceremony.
rather than
Yeah.
remembering.
No, that's actually really good, no, that's a
Yeah.
good point, yeah, that's,
Cause I
so
would do it with term if otherwise, but why
Right.
not like?
every annual meeting,
Right,
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Publicly recommitting to the. UMA
right,
board.
and that way
Yeah.
if there are any adjustments made, they would be updated for the annual meeting.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, yeah, actually, I mean,
Recommit, it's like, yeah, renewing your vows.
yeah,
right.
I haven't even said my first vows yet.
And when is that? You can- that's
When is that? Oh, everybody
Conflict
keeps
of
asking me,
interest.
yeah. I know, everybody keeps asking, when am I gonna do it?
Now that-
Is
I don't know.
is the ED gonna like perform the?
She'll be, yes, Tina will be the master of ceremonies.
Is there any kind of document that tells us all like your term is from here to here or
Yeah.
and
Should
That's
I
in the
bring
bylaws.
that up?
so I'm
Yeah.
wondering if we can't put that in this too and say, you know, you were appointed, you were elected, you were, you know, how did you come to the board? Just so we have record of it so that.
I
I
feel
have
like
the
It
that
would
might-
need to be updated in the bylaws
Yeah,
on
that
how we're
might-
doing
yeah.
things, and then we can make the
That might be,
modification.
Yeah.
I don't, see, the thing though
But
is
if you
that,
need a list of the current list for right now,
Yeah, just like, is that
I can
something
email-
that? we
Like
should
under
email
have?
active
that out.
participation, we could put appointed member or nominated
So
member.
does that
or
come up in
whatever.
nominations, like if I have the nominations subcommittee meeting,
And then what the term is for each. is what you're
do
saying,
we
right?
talk about that in there?
yeah, I would think that if they're
Yeah.
back, yeah, right, I think it should be just, because if they're backfilling a role,
yeah, then it's
like Karen
temporary.
Lynch's seat, right? Like, we
Yeah.
still have to find
Right.
somebody to fill in for Karen, and I think there's one other one. I'd have to go back and look, I don't remember now off the top, but I know Karen sticks out to my, oh, no,
Well, we can look at
I'd
the
have to
older
look.
minutes and see how many we had at the most.
yeah.
Now we have 7, but. we used
Yes,
more.
we have. some.
Yeah, I think that should actually come up, Eden, when this, yeah, because somebody's gotta know, right? Like, yeah, you're filling out this term for, you know, you'll be
It
here
would
for a
be part of
year.
nominations, so
Because
that
I-
way, you
Yeah.
know, when
I think it
we're
would be good for
asking
the
people-
president to know too, so that, you know.
That's
you're
true,
Shuffling
yeah.
Well,
around
I'm
all
gonna
these
invite him
people.
to the meeting, so.
Yeah, I'll be there, yeah, I'm gonna,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll be,
So I'll
I mean, I
hold him
am a standing member of all committees,
All right.
yeah.
Make sure you.
Whether I would
each
like
and
to
every
be, yeah, whether I'd like to be
Yeah.
there or not. So I am an active member, but yeah, no, that actually is a good point, to keep, you know, to keep everybody informed of, you know, who's serving out what term.
to how long I'm doing this for.
Yeah, but yeah.
Is that the one question?
Yeah.
Well, did you
Um,
just finish somebody's term, or you just started a brand new one, right?
Am I finishing out Karen Lynch's?
No,
No,
no, before that, you were on the,
No,
somebody
not the
else's
vice
session,
president's
this,
role.
no, you're in your first year of your
Yeah.
first term.
All right, any other feedback, Adam?
So what did we agree on how often we're signing?
Annual meeting,
Annual meeting.
yeah,
Great.
right? Did I hear that
Mhm.
correct? Yeah, we're
Yeah.
doing every annual
So
meeting.
we need to do the yearly review of the thing before the annual meeting.
Correct, so we would have to probably do that either in August, like in the
Yeah,
June or
before.
August
Yeah.
meeting.
And
At
that
that
would be
point.
part of the nominations is reviewing,
I think that would be
The
part of
board
both,
agreement?
I think of both, right?
or
I
is it
think,
executive?
I think that should be executive,
Okay.
I think the executive board
I'll
should
let
be
you
doing
take
that,
up that.
yeah, yeah, that should be an executive board function. And then I guess then refer it to you if there's any other further, you know,
Adjustments.
yeah,
right.
yeah, present it before the full board. And if there needs to be anything, then maybe we kick it over to you or kick it to you and. let
Just
you-
so, right, because the idea is it would also be presented when asking
Correct,
somebody to
yeah,
join.
yeah,
that they
Right.
would have an
Mhm.
assessment of,
But yeah,
an
I
overview.
think this should be better suited for the executive board to,
Okay.
to update.
That's fine by
Yeah.
me.
So are
Uh,
you going to amend this?
Yes, I'll make the updates to it and I'll send it out, or I'll send it to Lori. And what's the proper
I
thing?
don't- Whatever, whichever, honestly,
Yeah.
whatever you wanna do. I
And
don't-
then
Okay,
hopefully we
yes.
can just get it done in
Yeah,
February,
yeah,
right?
this, yeah, this should,
Exactly.
yeah, this should be.
That's the
Shouldn't be a
hope.
big
Do you
deal.
have that all typed up that you could have,
Mhm.
do it in typed version?
Yeah,
But I guess in
Um,
mine, it was the same stuff like strike 9.
Yeah.
Won't mean
Yeah.
anything.
yes, absolutely, yeah.
I guess as, you know, I'll just ask off committee, Leah, do you have anything that you would like to add? Thank you.
Thank
Katie,
you.
is
That was
there anything?
productive, I thought.
Yeah. Told you these were two big items that we're gonna, that's gonna take up the majority of our meeting. Katie, anything that you would like to add?
Nope.
All right, thank you guys for that. We will move on to agenda item number 2, which is the conflict of interest policy. I don't know if everybody has had a chance to kind of read it over. I know that there was the Anne wanted to add in about they're not running for office. I know that there was some discussion on that. Obviously, tonight, I'm not looking to take a vote to adopt either one of these. I should have added that before, until we've actually fleshed everything out. But just wanted to see if there is anything further that we want to put into the conflict of interest, or again, going back and revisiting this conversation. And this one's not that long. Well, maybe it is kind of long,
But
but
the Ann one?
no, just the
Oh,
conflict
yeah,
of interest in
conflict, yeah.
general. You know, we started working on this last meeting, and so I don't know if there was anything more that we wanted to add in further regarding this.
No.
I'm sorry, was this done by the lawyer? for us or? Where did this document come
Yes,
from?
I think this, God forgive me.
I feel like she,
I think this
Yeah.
did come
Yes,
from,
right?
Rob
Yeah.
DeMarco's
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
I don't remember her
Yeah.
name,
Yeah.
yeah.
Katie, I think it's Katie,
Katie.
Kate or Katie.
Okay.
God forgive me. Sorry, everybody. I should know this, but yeah, this did come from Rob DeMarco's group. Thank you, Jonathan, for putting, yeah, so they did work on this. Again, we haven't adopted this as our, as our conflict of interest policy yet, just like the bylaws, we're still doing a little back and forth still and, still obviously soliciting, feedback from everybody first before I guess we go into, before we take any final votes to adopt this as our own. Again, this is another document that's gonna be amended, livable, breathable, all that, right?
Mhm.
So I don't know how often. I feel like this should also be another yearly,
you
or
think?
maybe even 2 years, maybe, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like it probably wouldn't be. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like this one probably wouldn't be changed much.
right.
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know the last time it was changed though. When was the last time?
Oh, God.
A long time ago, yeah, so like,
Yeah.
if we don't put a term on it,
Right,
it'll be like
right.
20 years
Yeah.
before it's seen again.
And I do wonder right, so like maybe moving forward, if we think that, and I hate to say it, but like, conflicts of interest policies are always kind of reactive, right, as much as we try to be proactive.
Yeah.
So I do wonder if there's anything that does come up later on down the road, if and obviously I have the power to do this, or the president has the power to do this, to form a conflict of interest committee
Yeah.
to review that, right? And
Yeah.
if there's anything that needs to be added in, maybe we do, right?
Yeah.
But I wonder if but I also don't want this to lapse and go on, 20 years without somebody looking at this either, right?
Absolutely.
Like, that I don't want that either.
Right.
So I do wonder, I mean,
Is there something in the conflict of interest that says, oh, this document must be reviewed?
No, I don't
Every 10
remember.
years? or-
no, I don't remember reading that, honestly.
I mean, I think I signed one for Harvard yesterday and it was from 02 or 04. It was
Oh,
rather
okay.
old. But
Yeah.
it just said that I wouldn't be using like their stuff during their time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Like the
any
standard, yeah.
outside, but as long as it's my time.
Yeah.
then then it's fine.
The pretty standard
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean,
Public update as the board feels appropriate.
Well, I think
The
the
thing-
committee thing though,
The tough thing though is that when you use like pretty vague language like that, that's up for interpretation. Because for me, I could be like, yeah, as needed.
So what
I'm
about
gonna say
every
it's gonna
3
be-
years?
it's not
I don't
needed.
know.
Yeah, no.
not
yeah.
needed.
I'd say every
But it
two.
is.
No, I'd say every 2 years.
Okay.
I say every two.
Okay.
yeah,
I
and
think
that just means reviewing it.
Yeah.
If there are no changes or no.
Yeah, then there's no
Well, maybe you
changes.
have to sign it every year along with the other
And
one.
I was just-
then
Oh,
you
you
try
should,
to
we
keep
should
them-
be signing.
And I
And
was
then
just gonna
that
say
way
that.
you have eyes on them, so
Yes,
if there are any
you're right.
issues,
Yes.
people might, because
Good
when I
idea,
have
yeah.
something in hand like this, it was helpful, because I could just look at it.
Agreed.
Yeah, we should
agreed.
absolutely be signing it every year because you
Right.
never know what our circumstance, like, I work
Right.
for Harvard, right?
Right.
I mean, it's like everything changes in
Right.
our own lives, so.
Same thing like my employment could change, right? So going
Mhm.
from the private sector back to
Right.
the public, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as I was just telling you guys about, working for the Commonwealth and how we couldn't do fundraising, right? So now all of a
Right.
sudden I'm on like a fundraising committee. Now, obviously my circumstances have changed.
Right,
So I think every 2 years is probably more appropriate.
okay.
And I think that,
All right, sign yearly.
signed
And
yearly.
update or review every 2 years.
And I think that also too, what should also be added on, and we did this at Beth Israel, was that each year that it was reviewed, it would say amended as, reviewed on and
Oh,
adopted,
yeah,
so
yeah.
like at least
Yeah.
you're not staring at, like you said, like your thing was.
When
from, like,
was this
2002.
reviewed?
Yeah,
That was old.
Yeah.
yeah, so at least we know, all right, so it was reviewed again, it was reviewed in 2024, January,
Amended.
yeah, amended in February of 24, then reviewed again in, January of 26, amended for, so I think that that's something that should be included each year that it's passed out, right? So,
Agreed.
yeah, and I think it should be part of the welcome packet as well.
Yep.
But with that being said, I don't know if there's anything that anybody wants to kind of like do a little deep dive on.
That's why I asked if this was done by someone legal. I'm staying out of this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because
But
unless
it-
there's something that really stands out to us, and I think we should. Yeah, I wasn't at the last meeting. I saw the video, but the Ann concern, I know you guys were all debating it, and
Can you
I'm
please,
not-
just for the people, the public record again, can you state what Ann's concern was?
Yeah, Ann's concern was that we did have for the neighborhood view, I think it was for their committee as well,
Yes.
Mhm.
was that like, they wanted to add in language, I think, which this conflict of interest covers not only just UMA, but also Neighborhood View as well too, which falls under UMA, about a section about talking about dealing with people who want to run for office. And so
Who are on the board.
who are on the board, excuse me,
Right.
thank you,
Right.
who are on the board currently, thank
And
you.
I was thinking about it after our last meeting, and I'll ask your opinion since you're a lawyer, like, I don't think legally we could tell people that they can't run for office if they're gonna be on the board, like,
Can't tell you anything legally.
oh, well, no, I'm sorry, that's true.
Right, that goes against the conflict of
I was gonna
interest.
say, no, but like, I don't think we could tell anybody, like, if you join this board, you can't run for office. I think
Right.
everyone has like the legal right to run for office if they choose to.
Mhm.
So I just don't know if that we could actually include any type of language like that.
I think it could only say, like, this, my guess is that,
We can
Oh,
recuse
what-
ourselves from
yeah.
stuff.
once elected,
Mhm.
then maybe somebody can't be on an officer or something like that.
Right.
But I don't think before the person's elected,
Mhm.
we should be allowed to do anything.
Yeah.
My opinion on it is I think that this is better suited for the legal minds that deal with that.
Yeah,
To
I
take that
agree.
recommendation to them. right?
Totally agree. And,
I-
and maybe it's a staff thing though too, where like, I think the issue here is that people are not understanding that UMA is an unbiased, organization, that they don't take any stance in any, like, we're literally the AV tech for these things, right? Like,
Right,
maybe that's a disclaimer that we ask the lawyers about that maybe needs to be put on social media stuff.
right.
you
I guess
know?
I thought about it from a different perspective. You're right. Like, if I don't run, are my opinions like, could people judge them and say, oh, they're UMAs, and that wouldn't be true, whether you're running or not? But I guess where I was thinking about it more, and I do have an issue, is like, sometimes you could say, oh, UMA puts up my name
Mhm.
on the
Mhm.
website,
Mhm.
and I'm using that for publicity if I'm running. Like, I get name recognition, I can say I'm a part of this organization, is that taking advantage of being on the board? And I guess that's where I like.
Mm.
Unfortunately, everything in politics is fair game.
Right,
right?
I know,
So that was
Depending on who the
not-
person
it wasn't
is.
the idea, like,
I know what you're
but
saying.
the more
though.
I
Yeah.
thought about it, like, yeah, everybody has their own opinions, it doesn't matter whether you're running or not, that's your free speech, but are you using UMA
To-
to benefit
Yeah.
your,
I would hope we
political
would
career.
read- I hope we
And
would read
that was
out
like-
beforehand.
that's the only way I could get it, that I could say like, in my mind, it has justification, like, yeah, you shouldn't be using UMA to
Right.
run, and the only way to make sure you're not doing that is to not have you on the board.
I can see from the perspective of, right, like when you're trying to lend credibility, right? So like, I guess people, how involved are you in the community? Like if you were like, oh yeah, I'm an UMA, I'm part of, Zonta, I'm a part of, other
Right,
organizations.
your
around.
resume.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You running.
Yeah, like I'm
Right.
involved, but I think it's to Eden's point, I think it's like different if you're like, well, I also was, I'm on UMA, but guess what I've done for, and you start using it as like,
Yeah.
like
It's
a
integrity,
springboard,
I
right?
think,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
is what it comes
Yeah.
down to me. And I know it's hard to like prove it, right, in a court of law, but it just is a gray area.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
right? And I think that, again, I feel like the drafters of, who have experience, what do other organizations do with that, right? Like, how do other organizations handle
Good point.
public officials? Because, again, for me, it's no secret, like I think I was saying that in the last meeting, it's no secret that obviously I come from that background where I held office in this town, right?
Mhm.
So for me to tell somebody, yeah, no, you can't run, it's almost like, we can't even get good people to run for like certain offices in this town. Now you want to, you know what I mean? You get somebody
People
who's
want to
great.
be active
Yeah,
in
and the
the
people who
city.
want to be active, and it's not, now you're telling them that you can't, you're like, I'm still,
Yeah.
I think there's a better way to handle it, right?
There's also people that don't wanna run.
Yeah, there's some people who
Yeah.
don't listen.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm running for is
That's
to the
crazy.
bathroom. That's the only thing I'm running to catch the bus when I'm late. Or running to catch my Uber when he's about to drive away because I didn't show up in time. So yeah, so I think that, I feel like that might be better for, that
Yeah.
There's gotta
topic.
be something that says, if running for public office, you agree to not do X, Y, and Z.
And probably you recuse yourself from any.
Yeah, and you
or-
But you
recruit,
al-
yeah.
But I will say, and I will state this on the record too, like, the city council and also the school committee does not have direct oversight over UMA or any, and they don't,
Right.
this, the funding does not approve, as far as I remember, well, I can talk about it on the school committee, but And I think the city council too, like, there's no direct funding. I think all our direct funding comes from the
PEG.
mayor's office, right? Or PEG.
Yeah,
right?
it's from the PEG, so it's not even, we're not getting city funds, we're getting
PEG
PEG
money,
fund-
right?
PEG
Yes,
money.
which PEG is the Public Education and Government Access,
Yeah,
just so people don't misinterpret what PEG means.
yes.
So.
But I mean, I think if we were getting larger money out of the city budget, then that could be an issue.
Then
because
the-
The
yeah,
city
then-
council
correct.
decides the budget,
Yeah.
but we're only utilizing the funds that have come specifically through that.
Right, from
those fees.
Yep,
Yeah.
correct.
Would the state have, besides like ethics, whatever, is there any state person to advise on it?
Probably the state ethics office.
Yeah, I mean, you
know
could, I
that's-
mean, the
We
state,
can ask. I mean,
You-
but like, that's not really us,
Yeah.
that would be the
But
lawyers
Did
again.
Ari already look at that? It was fine? Sorry.
name of the public, please. I know we're talking in public, I mean, it's fine, it's,
But I
yes.
thought she
yes.
said that publicly, so. I
She
didn't say
did,
there
no,
was
she
any
did,
issue,
she did,
so-
I just don't want,
Okay.
I'm always, for me personally, I'm
Okay.
always one of those that I'm like,
But there was a former board member.
Yeah,
who was
exactly,
in
yeah,
our
yeah.
office who did look at
Yeah.
it with the state and they said it was okay.
yes, yeah. I guess always when in
Sorry.
doubt, you always just kind of, you
Okay.
reach out, right, you call the state ethics
Right.
board.
I wasn't thinking ethics, just if there was a, or group in the state that normally deals with.
State, yeah, state
Have
ethics board,
questions,
yeah,
but
state
that would be
ethics board,
ethics.
yeah.
So are we talking about sending this back to the lawyer and asking those specific questions to amend this?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, so the next, so that's
what we should do.
Yeah, so that's what, so I mean, unless, so if everybody's fine with the way this looks right now, we can send this back with obviously with that addition from, about the running for office. If there was other,
No, but it's not an addition.
It's a
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
question, I'm
yeah.
sorry, not an
Yeah.
addition, excuse me. I should say, in addition to what we're sending back as our as
I
our
think it's a good
questions.
question to ask. I mean,
Right,
get
I
their
think, yeah, I
opinion
think
on
that's a
it.
fair question. I just, I obviously wanted to have this open for discussion if there was any more thought to the conflict, to what we have existing right now, and if there's any other further
No.
additions.
I just think we need to distinguish between running for office and being in office.
Yeah, it would be in
Yeah.
both, right? I mean, it will be absolutely in both, I would think. I mean, you would have to.
And I haven't really thought about it, but would there be any? And I don't know that it's a conflict of interest, but maybe it's more on the, like, agreement from the, like, when you become a board member that you'll give UMA, like, I don't know why it would matter, but 3 months notice before you run, or, before you
Oh,
announce, or like some kind of heads up, would that be reasonable just to be aware for
I wonder if that's
the
in the
board?
I wonder if we do that in the bylaws.
That's
Like
Oh,
a,
for
like
sure.
a
Very good
month,
question.
like
No,
some
it's
sort
actually a
of
really good
leeway,
question.
like I get you're not gonna announce the public, but maybe the board is entitled to a heads up. Like maybe we can say, okay, you can't run, or you shouldn't, like I
That's
understand where you're coming from.
Is that too much time? Like, if people decide to run, they all know that much ahead of time?
Yo.
No.
Yes,
I don't know,
let's
I
be
just-
real. Let me pull out, listen, I'll tell you right now, let me pull out the veil curtain for everybody.
You have an announcement tonight?
No, nobody just thinks about the next morning and it's like, oh, I'm just gonna, I mean, there are some people in this community that have, and they're gonna remain nameless. There are people that I do know that wake up and are like, yeah, I'm gonna run because they didn't pave my sidewalk correctly.
Right.
And that is a direct shot at
That's how
somebody.
it-
Yeah, that is, and I don't care either. So you do get people like that. However, there are people though that they do know very well in advance that they're like, let's put it this way, there are people who know.
So to say, please give advance notice? to
Yeah,
the board?
I actually like, give them the 3 months notice, right? I think that's
I
reasonable.
think it's reasonable
I think
for
that's
the board,
reasonable.
because then you don't know whether there's a or a
Right.
potential conflict if you're not even aware as a board member that X
Right.
person isn't going to run.
Yeah, that makes
You
sense.
know.
I agree.
So if nothing else, I would at least appreciate
A
a
heads
heads
up.
up.
All right, so if somebody is running for November, when,
Whenever, it could be either. It
And
could
if
be,
it has
Yeah.
to be an exegutive session, that's fine,
Yeah.
because the.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
they
think
should.
papers
public,
come
like,
out
I
in
get-
May, so
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't remember when they do.
Yeah,
It's
so
been
I
a
mean,
while.
I don't know, 2-3 months before that. Yeah, that sounds right.
yeah, I do think it should be executive session, so the person can
Say
tell
it.
everybody when they want to,
Yes.
and we can't.
The
I
only
agree.
thing I will say about this document is that I know Anne is anxious to get it done
Right.
because she needs it for our neighborhood view.
That's right.
Well, we should have this done. I would think that, with this tonight, again, if there are no other further, proposals or recommendations, when Tina's back and when I'm back, I would think that we would have this ready to go by like the end of this month. And that we'll send this over to the lawyer's office, and then we should have this ready to go, by February's meeting and up and running, I would think.
Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my anticipation is to have this ready to go soon.
Excellent.
And if I have to call, and to be quite frank, I mean, again, I reserve that, and I can make that call that if we need to call a special meeting to vote on it, to adopt it quicker, quickly, or as quickly as possible before the month is out, yeah, I mean, we can do that too as well, so.
Yeah, I just want to make that known because I know that she had mentioned that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
needs
can't
that.
finalize
Yeah,
the thing
without
that they
this.
got.
Yeah.
if there is no further discussion at the table, Adam, I'm seeing.
So
you for
I
supporting-
do have a question actually.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about like political conflicts of interests and running for office, but like this is a lot broader than just political inclinations. I mean, to give you one example, I am a real estate agent. I can't be hanging out at the UMA offices, handing out my business card and asking people who want to sell their house. That would obviously be inappropriate. I know that. But you know, just to read from the line, this is any transaction or decision of UMA might benefit the private interest of an officer, director, member of a committee, and so on and so on. So I think this is like pretty broad as it should be. But you know, I feel like much of the discussion has just been about running for office, and I just don't want us to lose sight that this is
Mhm.
a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Agreed. And I wonder too, right? I think that with that being said, with it being so broad, right? I also do wonder, should we put something in that if there is any violation of the conflict of interest policy, how do we handle that? Is it a discussion? Is it a discussion in executive session?
Yes.
Is that a discussion with Tina and myself? Is that a board discussion?
I would say with the executive director in executive session.
Right?
I mean, honestly.
Right? Is that, I mean, that's something that we should think, I mean, because, yeah, we have this all spelled out pretty much about, what not to do, but in the event, like Adam said, if Adam goes and
Someone
starts,
takes advantage of it, yeah.
Yeah.
breaks it.
And I guess I haven't. Adam, can you like, if we did a fundraiser and your realtor agency like decided to sponsor something, that's permitted, right? Or no? Is that a
I
conflict
I
of
think it's a
interest of
conflict
board
of interest
members?
when it comes to policies and protocols that we put
If they're
forward.
taking a cut,
Yeah.
maybe,
Well, yeah.
right?
yeah.
But if they're promoting UMA, I don't see that as a conflict.
I mean, I like obviously
say
I don't know
do
the
that.
answer to that question, but I would say that there's a difference between leading edge real estate sponsoring something and me as a board member, as an individual person. Like they're two different things. Like, yes, I'm part of both.
Right,
But, I think that's a little bit different.
okay.
Yeah, if he does a fundraiser, he have to wear his Zuma hat. He couldn't
Right.
be, advertised as a real estate event or something
Right,
like that.
of course.
Sure, exactly.
I mean, I'm sure the legal people have the language on, I would
Convening
assume
or-
that they have language on that. What happens when someone breaks the conflict of interest, violates it, yeah.
Violation of the conflict, yeah. If the governing board has reasonable cause to believe a director or whomever significant UMA has failed to disclose, shall, if after hearing the director, a member committee person of different, yeah. Have to make an investigation as warranted by the circumstances the governing board or committee determines the director. So I guess we are, right? I mean, I guess we could, but I get, now, do we handle that in executive? Yeah, I guess we don't, I mean,
Can I ask a quick question?
yeah.
No, and only from a standpoint, because obviously I work for a printing company. If I am working with different organizations, obviously I work with a lot of nonprofits and stuff, we tend to give better pricing and everything to organizations we work with. So does that become a conflict of interest? If the time, if the time came, if I was on the board and you use the company I work for, does that now become a conflict of interest? So I think there needs to be some clarification on what that is. Because I think a lot of
Tina made
times when
this
you
a
have
deal
board
deal.
members, you are benefiting from where they work or what they can do for you.
That's actually good. That's
Yeah.
actually a really good question, right? I wonder if this falls under the compensation discussion.
Right, I mean, wouldn't we have to put it out to bid and we have to take the 3 best or,
Oh, like
whoever
an
the
I
best-
think-
RFP, you do a request for proposal?
But for
Right,
simple printing jobs, like
Oh, I-
something,
Oh, I mean, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, I would think so.
You would think, yeah, you'd be surprised. That's a good question.
Cause normally isn't that why cities put things out to bid, so that way it's,
And
Only
especially
at certain
Tina would know the
amounts.
answer
So,
to this,
so somebody's
Yeah.
brother-in-law
Yeah.
doesn't always keep getting the contract.
Right, but only if it's over certain amounts.
Correct,
Like if you're
yeah.
gonna go out to, if you're doing a $20 print job, are you gonna go out to get three different bids for something that's gonna cost you $25 and you could have 25, 26, and $27?
You know, that's a good question. I'm actually gonna write that down. I wonder if that's something, that is definitely something. Tina may know. I mean, next time I'll talk to her will be like in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
yeah, because I mean,
Right.
we know that there was requests for proposals for the indoor ceiling
Yeah,
project
right.
right now for the renovations that just
but
happened.
we need
and
to get this done for Anne right
Yeah.
before then,
Yeah.
and this isn't. What Katie is asking isn't related to the Anne. I think that's why I've been so focused on the political side
Yeah.
is for Anne,
Yeah.
right, and
Yeah,
that's
that was
kind of
Anne's specific
time.
question, that's why. yeah.
So I could see it, you know, and like it is a living document, we can make adjustments. So if we need to wait till Tina comes back.
And even for that, if you're saying people can't run for political office if they're sitting on a board, you're also now limiting who you're going to allow on the board.
Yeah,
Correct. Okay.
exactly, correct.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Correct. Now that's a good question. I actually wrote that down, Katie, so I can ask, so I can, when I do my one-to-one with Tina, I can talk to her about that. And if that's
Because
something that
obviously
we,
it goes back, it can go to a lot of people. Like if you're doing a fundraiser and it's,
yeah,
oh, we're gonna get gift certificates from this restaurant. So now it's
Right.
conflict of interest because it's
That
that
person's working
person's
for
and now you're advertising for that person because say they're the general manager of the restaurant and they've now given you this.
right. No, it's.
So it's a very fine line. And I mean, I think a lot of boards do utilize their board members for what they bring to the table.
Mhm.
Correct. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. No, that's something I never, honestly, that's something I never thought about. I don't think I've ever really dealt with that before.
Right, like if DeMarco was on the board and we used his
Right.
legal services.
I mean, that would be like,
Yeah.
that's definitely a big no,
Right,
right?
yeah.
Because in that respect, because I would think he is getting he's getting compensated from UMA to do
Right.
UMA's work,
Right.
right?
Oh,
That's why it was so great that
Versus
Jordan
the lawyer
Shapiro was on
before
here
that
before.
was pro bono,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, he was.
So that
pro
made
bono.
the difference?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, Jordan Shapiro was pro bono.
Yes, I believe so. So, yeah, so if somebody is getting, I would think that falls under the compensation. But I mean, to Katie's point though, right? Like if we're using your company or we're using somebody's company, but they work there, right? I mean, I don't think that becomes gray. Yeah, I can't see that hurting. I can't see that hurting us to ask that question. And if we need to have something written in there too as well, I mean,
And to be honest, this could be a board training session about conflicts of interest,
Right,
right? That we
right.
could host
Yeah.
for us to like really ask these questions because we don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I took these.
You're a
we-
lawyer.
Yeah, I know, but I can't, look, I'll tell you, I will give you guys a good story because we have some time. I remember when I had to do this for the lottery commission or for the state. And we used to have to take these training videos every single year. And one of the questions was, if I knew Eden and like, I'm a state employee, Eden's a private contractor. And I helped Eden get the bid and Eden gave me like $100 gift certificate to Toys R Us.
Yeah, you couldn't do that.
Yeah,
Don't do
good.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
but I had a
Anything
personal
below
but I had a
50.
personal relationship with her. Like she was my friend.
Oh,
That's where it gets very gray because like in
Yes.
one hand you're like, so
yeah. No, I
those
think-
videos were very bad. I can't. They were so boring.
They're horrible.
Especially giving money back to our family members
Yeah.
right after getting like, or hiring them. like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. And look what happened. She ended up under an FBI investigation. Yeah. So, but yeah, though we have to go through those videos all the time. But yeah, but I just remember being like, I couldn't take gifts over $50. It had to be like, but if I took a gift at like $49.99, I was covered.
And it's consumable.
Yeah.
You can give that. And it can be
75.
eaten.
75,
But
yeah, you got-
MSF was 50.
yeah. But anything over that, then that becomes a violation.
Yeah, I mean, but like if it becomes like like what Katie's kind of talking about, like we don't get paid, but this, UMA, we urged UMA to work with a specific contractor and it's in lieu of payment,
Yeah.
right? Like it's kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, that's.
I would think if it's like somebody directly getting paid, like if like Katie, what she's asking, right? And if Katie was the one getting directly paid or compensated, then I would think that's a conflict. But if it's like Katie just happens to work there, but
Yeah.
again, I think we should still ask that. And I think we
Yes.
should still have language in there, right?
Yep.
All right, Any other thoughts on this? I do want to talk to our community engagement person too, our civic engagement person about this too, if she has any ideas.
I'm a little bit out of my element here.
Perfect, all right. I disagree with them, but if that's, but if there's nothing further to add.
You might have some good stories to write.
Oh, I know, yeah, you might, yeah. Listen, I'm full of them. I worked for the Commonwealth for a very long time. Full of very interesting stories, like people running for office and they were using printers that they weren't supposed to be
Right.
on state time, so. All right. So if we're all set with the way the conflict of interest policy looks outside of our discussions and whatnot, and I think I feel comfortable enough to go before Tina, and then I think also comfortable enough to go back to Rob's group, see what they say, see what they come back with. If we need to call a special meeting to adopt this ASAP, obviously I will do that, so. But I also do want to, and you know what, maybe I should have that line in, and I also think that it's a good idea, along with the board expectation and along with bylaws, I think conflict of interest policy should be included. I think it should be a signed document.
At the annual meeting?
Correct. Yep, as part of the welcome packet or part of the welcome packet and all that.
Why are you gonna make a welcome?
Welcome
packet?
wagon.
Yeah,
I love
hey,
that.
welcome, yeah, welcome aboard. You have no idea what you just got yourself into. All right,
Let's sign here.
yeah. Don't read the rest of this,
Yeah.
just sign, yeah. Yeah, just block out like half of it.
Right.
All right, if there are any further if there's no further discussion on that, I think we can move on to the rest of the agenda. Okay. All right, all right, so agenda number 5, the ED report, there is no ED report this month. Agenda item number 6, the finance report, there is no finance report. Number 8, old business, if there's any old business to discuss from last meeting, I don't believe there is though, but I could be wrong. Okay, new business. So actually, Lori had brought up a good point. Next month is February vacation. So the third Thursday falls on February vacation week. I know that a lot of people, do want to go away and they do have activities with their children planned. So I do want to be respectful of that. Does the group want to do kind of what we just did with this meeting this month? Do we want to move it up a week? So that would take us to the February 13th. We can leave it. We can leave it on the February 20th, or we can meet the week after, which would take us to February 27th.
I agree not having on school vacation week, but I don't care either way, whether it's before or after.
I can't go anywhere on vacation because Harvard, I'm blocked out, so I can be here for any
Oh,
of the
yeah,
days.
I could
Okay.
be here. for-
So, I mean, so
Okay.
whatever works for others. I get that if you have vacation. or
Oh,
you
no,
can't
I
go.
don't. I'm always here, so.
Yeah.
I can do the
And-
20th if it's
So
still
I have no
needed.
plans of going anywhere. So
Yeah.
Okay.
I gotta work, so.
I personally have a strong preference for the 27th instead of the
Okay.
20th, if at all
You-
possible.
Adam, you have a strong preference for that?
For the 27th instead of the 20th, I'm gonna be out of the country,
Yeah,
Okay.
Good for you.
Nice. Going anywhere good?
Mexico City.
What? I'm going to Cancun next week.
Oh, nice. We'll meet up.
Everybody's going. Yeah. No, I'm going next week. Yeah, you'll be
Oh,
there a
okay.
month after me.
Nice.
If that, excuse me, if that being said, if the board wants to move it to the 27th, we can, if everybody's fine with that. So we'll move it to the 4th Thursday. I don't think we need to vote on that. Right?
7 PM. like
Yeah, same time,
Same place.
same place. I think we'll also,
Are we doing it here? Or we going
yeah, I
back
believe we'll be
to-
back here. Yeah, we'll be
Here
back
for
in City
Ginger
Hall.
very much.
Okay.
Thank you to Ever. I appreciate the flexibility.
No problem. Also, as under new business, I know Tina's not here and I'm not gonna really do a very eloquent job of explaining it, but I don't know, she has been posting on Facebook, on the UMA Facebook page. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to watch her videos, but the work that they've been doing over at UMA is awesome. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to go and see it.
I peeked in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right here, but I couldn't see much.
it
Yeah,
looks
they do a
good.
good job with
Yeah.
their social media. I mean, in regards to posting
Have you
regularly.
been over there?
Yeah, and I actually went in on Saturday because I had to go sign something for Tina, and I went in and those guys were working really hard. And I mean, the roof, I think the ceilings were more or less like gone when I was in there. I believe the kitchen, correct me if I'm wrong, Leah, the kitchen had been basically updated on Saturday. I don't know what else has been going on over there, like as since in between now and last Saturday, but I know that the kitchen has more or less been up to date.
The carpeting was all redone.
Yeah, I know that they put black black borders around the windows and stuff. I know they painted that around
Yeah.
some, so that's pretty cool. So
Do we have a ETA of when it's gonna be done yet? Or
It's
Yeah.
because that
it's gonna
seems
be
like
done
it's-
by
March.
Monday, no, Monday it's gonna be, they're gonna be opening.
oh, real? Oh, so
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
So, and I think that we'll be back there. So our March meeting, I think we'll be back in Uma itself.
No, March should be here.
Oh, will we still be here?
She
Is it
told me-
April? Is it April? that
Show
we're
me
all there?
January, February, March.
Oh, okay, I'm
So I'm
sorry.
not sure.
Okay,
Hmm.
It
sorry.
might
So-
be a.
Yeah,
Hold on a
I
second.
just saw her yesterday and I said, are we open on Monday? She said, we're open on Monday. I said, okay.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, so
I-
it's underway. It looks good. Yeah, they're doing a great job, Tina and the group and, you know, the contractors that she hired and everybody, so we'll be
This
excited.
is just the first level, nothing on the second, in the
Right.
basement?
I
nothing
don't
yet.
believe yet, right? It's still all, yeah. I think that's gonna be another phase, I
Yeah.
think, right?
yes,
makes
that would be
sense.
another phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the money that was utilized for this part of the project was from the earmark from Senator Jason Lewis's
Yeah,
right.
office. So they didn't have to use any operation funds. It was all
Right,
from
she
the
said it was
earmark.
under budget.
Under
Yeah,
budget.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Very good.
So it'll be exciting, and I think the idea, as part of the strategic plan that Tina had read last meeting, was that I think to do like a mixer, I think, or like an open
Yep.
house.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be a nice way to kind of
Yep,
show everybody, you know,
Mhm.
there's one thing to see it on Facebook, it's one thing for us to discuss about it in public. And then I think it's
People
another thing
out.
for people to see it for
Physically.
themselves,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Yeah,
definitely.
and at the mixer, I would like to have a table or be at the front desk or whatever, where we could give people information about becoming a
Yeah,
board
yeah,
member
yeah,
or
absolutely.
joining
Totally.
subcommittees,
Yeah.
because we
I
need
did-
people on
Totally.
subcommittees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that during the art thing they had there.
Oh, awesome.
Is that our, as a board, are we pushing that through? Is that a Tina thing? Like
What?
organizing a open house?
I think that might be both. I think that's her, but I think that we can also help. I think,
Make sure
I don't think it'd be a
and-
bad idea for us to
and
kind of,
promote.
yeah, to
'Cause we
promote.
should start
invite.
getting that organized, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, I think
What's that,
Tina would
March,
set
April?
up the date and all
April.
that.
I think it's
April.
April, yeah. Yeah,
I think
I-
Tina would be like the first,
Yeah,
and then we can help her as she.
yeah. But I
yeah,
I
that's
think,
cool, that's exciting.
yeah, I think that should be all of us, right? I think we should all be jumping in on that, at that opportunity. I mean, it's exciting. I mean, look, that place looked like the same since I was very young, so let's put it to you that way.
I've heard stories about the basement.
Yeah, oh, I've been in that basement before.
Oh, was that, I've been in that. basement.
Yeah,
Really down there.
Also,
But there's potential.
There's so much
There's
potential.
Oh, the kids used to do camp stuff down there.
Hmm?
Kids used to do camp down there.
Really?
Some
Oh
stuff.
my gosh.
Yeah.
There was a studio down there.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The studio down there.
also under new business, I mean, I know that I'm not gonna go too much into contract negotiations, but I just put in the public that we will be talking to Tina about her contract renewal. That will be an executive committee. And then we'll go out to the full board, but I'm waiting for her to give us her proposals, and then from there, we will discuss further, but that is a new business, just to let everybody know that we will be entering in. There's no, I mean, I don't think I'm saying anything that could
Be detrimental.
yeah,
to-
detrimental to any negotiations, yeah, to any negotiation efforts and ongoing negotiation efforts, but that will be on the new business.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any new business before we close out tonight's meeting?
I would just say that I just took a brief look at the subcommittees and they need to be updated
Okay.
because we've had 2 members leave
Okay,
and there are a lot of holes,
Okay.
especially with the executive.
yeah,
That
yeah,
we were
yeah,
on with,
yeah, with
a former
Ari,
member.
yes. Yeah.
I
Thank
shall
you.
not be named.
No, only in that context, no, because that was, as I said, when I was reading all those Facebook posts back, when that was all going on, there was just some people on in the Facebook universe that were just writing unimpressive things, so, but that's,
Hard to
I
believe.
know. I'm just gonna leave it at that. We're conspiracy theories, but whatever. And I don't care either that somebody, let them reach out to me. I don't care. If not, fine.
I guess I just wanna say, it pertains to UMA, the Mullen School Committee, there was the recent meeting on Monday, there was an issue with the recording. So they're trying to get it and to upload it to the like MATV YouTube site, but it's not there yet, so. Just wanna say that they're aware and they're working on it, so if anybody's listening and wondering where it is.
Okay.
So.
Perfect. All right, with that being said, I'll move on to, like I said, there'll be no calling of executive session, for this meeting. There's nothing really pressing. I think maybe I'll just state what I said
Sure.
earlier, which No, you know what? No.
For new business, should we add anything? I know Brian put out a post regarding UMA and camps, like summer camps and youth. Will those responses be reviewed at any point or? Right, cause he made several posts, like I
Facebook?
shared it on my
Yeah.
Facebook,
Oh.
he put it on the
I
UMA
don't know.
page. It went on Malden Young Families, and several people put in like, I'd be willing to, most of it was like week by week versus like a 6-week commitment, but then some, like including myself, put costs, like willing to pay X, Y, or Z. And that information is out there, I don't know if Brian, I know he's not here, he may have gotten emails as well, but just kind of to add that to the agenda, like
Next
any
month.
updates.
Yeah, next month's
Like-
meeting.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to
actually,
hear.
Yeah.
So like.
Can you
just a
rem-
follow-up.
If you don't see it on the agenda, can you remind me when I
Sure.
pass it out, can you remind me to make sure that that's on there?
Okay.
Please. That could be probably either be under new business or old business.
Okay, yeah.
Whichever, but yeah, just remind me if you don't see
Okay.
that, please.
And did it align with what the strategic plan was talking about youth development? I don't know, I could talk to you
I
about
mean, he
that.
was trying to get
It was a poll.
Yeah, yeah,
pretty much,
more,
right?
like, to get
Information.
outreach, not just from myself,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah,
the community,
Yeah.
right, as a broader set.
yeah.
I can
So-
tell you, for the years that my kids did the summer camp, what used to be called Kids Video Adventure Camp, and it was a 2-week camp. I think it was Monday through Thursday, I don't think it was Fridays. And they went like, I don't know if it was 10 to 3, 10 to 4.
Mhm.
So you did commit to the 2 full weeks,
Mhm.
but it was only one session. I don't think they had multiple sessions.
Oh,
Mm.
okay. I mean,
Okay.
is that, I mean, just to ask, is that something that's discussed at the board level? I mean, that kind of seems like more of a Tina thing than an us
Yeah.
thing. Like, we're for youth development, we supported it all that. We
Right.
want to
Yeah,
focus
yeah, I
on
mean,
this.
yeah,
When
I-
we're
I-
at the specific camp things, I don't think that that's a board
But I would be
level-
interested
I-
as a
That's
board
the
level,
only
yeah.
operations.
I think we asked Tina
Yeah.
to share
Yeah.
right,
the findings.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't
how
think
many
she's
people
gonna keep it like it used to
responded,
be.
you know, you
Yeah.
can give a
Oh,
brief
wait, so Tina
overview.
was the person who put the poll up or
No,
Brian?
Brian did
Brian.
it using
Oh,
the
oh.
UMA heading, I mean, it's
Yeah.
on the UMA page.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. to
Yeah.
know.
So,
Yeah.
and I
think that's
responded
appropriate.
there for
Okay.
everyone to
Yeah.
see, and you can add in, so
Yeah, I think-
everybody's welcome.
Can you
It-
Have it
It's
on
such
Facebook?
a huge thing on our strategy that I think, why not? Let's
Yeah.
find out.
Agreed.
Right.
Or at least
Agreed.
get the information so we can tell people what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah,
Right.
agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially as they're ready to open it up.
It was the option to respond there in comments or to send Brian as a treasurer, like a specific email if you didn't feel comfortable.
okay,
So those were, so he
So
might
he's
have
probably
emails,
forwarded it to
But-
Tina.
so.
yeah.
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 Yeah, I think that's appropriate to discuss.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I think
yeah.
that's fine. Yeah, I don't think, I can't see that. Yeah, I can't see that being.
Yeah, I don't think we have done the final call, what happens or how she
No.
moves forward with
Yeah.
it. I just an overview. I mean, he put it
Yeah.
out there. so.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was just saying what they used to do.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, if you don't see it, if I,
Okay,
for some
I'll try
reason, I
to
could just,
remember.
yeah, just remind me. All right, with that being said, I will entertain any motions. I should say,
Motion.
we have come to the conclusion of our meeting,
Motion.
and I will entertain any
Adam,
motion. A motion, a motion by Jonathan, seconded by Adam, and the motion is to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you all very much for coming to the January meeting and enjoy February. All right,
Thank you.
Good night,
Goodbye.
guys. Take care.
see you later.
Yeah.
Thanks, Leah.
Next up, thank you, Leah.
So now we can tell about the sidewalk.
Oh, the sidewalks. are- oh, okay.